Greg, before Robyn Stewart of Music in Canada comes on.
Yes.
Sorry, not Music in Canada. Women in
Jesus.
Music.
Do you want to start that again?
Take two. Before Robyn Stewart of Women in Music Canada comes on, you and I have been talking about AI.
Oh dear God, are we going here again?
Well, specifically Chat Element OP or whatever it's called. Chat GPT QRX
No.
TUV.
OP.
And Spotify comes out and launches an AI
The Joe
DJ.
Rogan?
um, no, but seriously, Spotify, your paid account that you and the family share, um, they've now put
Did you
into.
notice I left in that you steal television from our last interview? But go ahead.
Now you have to do that again.
Go ahead.
Your thoughts on this new AI DJ that Spotify has released in beta, and implications for real DJs?
I don't think there will be. I can't see there being any real implications for DJs, like radio
Radio
DJs.
DJs.
First of all, streaming is already eaten into anybody who doesn't want to listen to a DJ,
Interesting.
like a radio jockey, right?
Yeah.
Um, I can't see it eating into that because you listen to your morning show for the personalities. So could AI fake that personalities? Sure. It's funny you bring this up because I was actually going to send you. I was going to try to find the clip from this morning. Carlin and Brent on Indie 88 did a bit about this, and they said because they're Indie 88 and they don't have, and they named Chorus and they named Rogers, like they named everybody. They said because we don't have Rogers and Chorus money, we actually had to go with the low budget AI, and unfortunately, all we could get was the shock jock. This is Brent talking about it, and Carl was like, "Okay, well, what does the shock jock have to say?" And the first one was, "Well, Putin had some good points." Oh, okay, no, and then they went back to the shock jock again, and anyway, a couple of other outrageous comments. And then they're like, okay, is there anything else a shock jock AI would like to say? That's going to be our new Indie 88 shock jock. And they go to the shock jock AI and it goes, I'm not a racist, but okay, stop. So it's funny that they actually did a bit on what you're talking about here. So do I believe that AI DJs are going to replace real on-air personalities? If they are, they're going to be eating into the people that have stopped listening to radio and are just streaming music because they don't want to hear voices. And I can't, that totally contradicts what I just said. Yeah. No, the answer is no.
Flat out no. I think
I also said to Tajio a long time ago that Instagram was a fad and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So, I mean, what do I know?
What do you know? So, our friend Alan Cross, I hope I can call him a friend.
He's been on the show. I think we can call him a friend.
Yeah. At the very least, is a friend of the show.
Yeah, sure.
Or the show considers him a friend.
Yeah.
Wrote a very interesting article on globalnews.ca, which is owned by Chorus, which owns the radio stations he's on. And he talks about this new AI, but he also talks about meeting Denise in 2011. And Denise was a virtual DJ at a community radio station in Texas. And yeah, and so Alan thinks there's something there. That as the technology has improved, obviously, since 2011, that there is something there. And if you could pay a program a fraction of the cost of let's say, using Indie 88 as the example, 3 morning DJs or 3 morning hosts of a morning program, would you, as the program director or as the owner of the radio station, look at something like that? Would you take a meeting with the company that was offering this to you, or the person that was pitching this to you as a way to save on
If anybody's going
costs?
to do it, I'd like to think that it's not going to be NPR's, the Indie 88s, those local, where local's so important to them, or not local from an NPR perspective, but
Hmm.
I don't. It reminds me of. It reminds me of, and I believe it was the episode. It was sort of the Christmas Carol episode from WKRP,
Yeah, yeah.
where they were going through, past, present, and future. And I believe future was, and I can't remember which character, it might have been Herb. And he was literally sitting in a room with a box, and the box was the DJ, and that's all there was for WKRP in the future.
Oh
Was this
my.
box running the station and DJing
Oh wow.
and programming, and and it was sort of to show the bleakness of potential future radio. So, as a fan of terrestrial radio, streaming, just listening to streaming 100%, which I listen to streaming. Don't get me wrong, I listen to playlists. But as I've said to you before on this show, or in the pre-show and discussions, I mean, I still go to Apple Music to listen to Strombo every day or so, because I want to hear that voice. I want to hear the personality. I want to hear the stories.
You want to hear the
Right?
insights. Yeah, the stories.
Right.
That's right.
So, I think for the people that really don't care, we're already there. For those that care about terrestrial radio, no, I'm not going to be interested in listening to a AI bot.
Yeah. You want to listen to people that you've got some familiarity with, and their stories and what happened on the weekend, and stories like
Coincidentally,
that.
isn't Matt Ferrer rebooting Max Headroom?
I don't know.
I think so.
Okay. And so the world turns. And that might be the pre-show.
Hi, the following podcast is brought to you by Radical Road Brewery, the best craft beer in the heart of Leslieville. Find them at 1177 Queen Street East. That's Radical Road Brewery.
I'm Robyn Stewart, Executive Director of Women in Music Canada. Welcome to the music.
Welcome.
I need to ask you this question right up front, because Greg and I have just been talking about AI and music.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard about chat. What is it? Chat GPR, GTP, GPT. Spotify now has an AI DJ. Do you have any thoughts, Robyn, at all about any of these things and its relationship to music?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't have a lot of to share in the AI space, but I feel like I was part of a tech conference about 6 years ago, specific to music, and the AI conversation was starting then. And the big question was, who's going to own it, right? When music's being created by AI, who owns what?
Interesting.
And I'm not honestly sure that's been even sorted out yet. So it's definitely, it's been creeping in for a long time. And I think, like several things, when they come new in the industry, we try and pretend they're going to go away. And then when they don't, you have to figure it all out. So I have to say that I leave the details to smarter minds than me on the AI front. But I'm curious to see where it all comes down in terms of who owns what and what the real sort of layout is.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's definitely not the industry that we started in 20 years ago, and this is the next a next change, right?
that is so
Yeah.
true.
It's funny. It's funny you say that about the IP because I was reading an article today that was talking about and Cream and I have talked about utilizing AI to write intros. In fact, but right before you got on, we were saying we use a lot of what comes out in the PR from the PR companies, and we
Mhm.
use that on our website. Well, that does us nothing from an SEO perspective, right? Like people searching, like last week was Sky Wallace. So if somebody searches Sky Wallace and then like whatever, we're not necessarily going to rank there. So we were talking about utilizing it for intros and the article I read today very similarly said, be careful about IP. Who owns that IP? Like you can take that content, put it on your website, and all of a sudden somebody goes, the creator of the AI bot goes, that's mine, not yours.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Do we
yeah.
have a
Who owns
lawyer,
that
Greg?
music? How does it get licensed? How does it get out? And then who gets the royalties, right?
That is true.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is true.
Um, really want to dive into your new role. I mean, it's fascinating in terms of supporting women in music. It is right in the name, but what the first question I have is what are you most excited about as you take on this new role?
Honestly, I'm most excited in diving into what the needs are. I mean, I on a broad scope know what the needs are. I've been in the industry 21 years myself, and I know what supports I would have liked through that time and what I'm enjoying now. But I'm really excited to hear from artists in industry what's going to help them move that needle and move forward in their career. And I'm excited to just celebrate all the incredible projects going on. We're launching our Women in Music Canada Honors program next week. And I have to say, just reading through all the submissions, there was incredible projects that I'd never heard of even across the country that are happening now that are really going to just change and add new pieces for women and gender diverse folks in the industry going forward.
Can you tell us
Yeah.
about this program?
Absolutely. So it's I come from running the Western Canadian Music Awards, and I never thought I'd start a new award program at this time and age, but it was just it was time, and we needed to. I wanted a way where we could celebrate and elevate women and gender diverse folks in music doing really great things, and so I developed the Women in Music Canada Honors program. The idea being we will present a slate of 17 folks to honor and celebrate and talk about and give some hardware to next week on International Women's Day. In areas of the industry, we have 10 honor roll recipients who are specifically up and comers in the industry and artistry who are doing really unique, great projects that we think we need to shed some light on. And as well as folks who've been in the industry for 20 plus years and doing really great things to spearhead what's coming next and pave that way for new folks coming in.
Cool.
I have two puppies that just came into the house and they're going to go on mute right now.
Yeah, you say you came from the Western Canadian Music Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing with them? Like, what was your role? I know you were the CEO, but what were you tasked with accomplishing there?
Well, to hit it on really high level, the organization exists to support artists and industry who are working out of Western Canada to have sustainable and growing careers nationally and worldwide without having to move to central hubs of the industry, without having to move to Toronto. If they're raising families and wanting to have lifelong careers in the West, we're there to help make that happen and to shed light on everything being done across the country. So my focus really was on Manitoba West. The East Coast Music Alliance does similar on the East. And of course, there are industry associations in each province. I'm really excited, to be honest, to be working all the way across Canada with women and gender diverse folks now. But I had a lot of passion in the West, being a Westerner myself, to really show that there's incredible music scenes everywhere in this country, and you don't necessarily have to live in the central hub to have a sustainable career.
I'm curious, when you take a look, and I know you're relatively new. How old have you? How old are you? No, that wasn't my question, Rob.
That's a very rude question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Naughty.
Like, are you going there?
No, I'm not going there. How you recently started with WIMC? How long ago has it, or how long has it been?
I've been in this role since August. I've been working with them in
Okay.
a different position for just over a year, but I took
Okay.
over the director role in
Yeah.
August.
Okay. So I'm guessing enough time has passed. That was the reason I was asking how long you've been with them. Enough time has passed that you've probably seen, when you take a look across the country, that there are, I don't know if there's certain needs or certain desires that women in different places in Canada have. Greg and I, for example, we talk a lot living in Toronto, how it's too expensive here in the city, and as a result, artists are moving out if they haven't. They're thinking about moving out if they already haven't. We're seeing venues, especially the smaller ones, have a problem with staying open. And I'm curious, when you take a look at the nation as a whole, if the issues are all the same when it comes to women in music, or are there differences in different parts of the country?
It's a good question. I think a lot of them are the same. I think a lot of them, especially given this last few years and how much we've turned to using technology to connect, are things that can be managed on a regional scale or a national scale. I mean, the big things that I've been seeing are desires for mentorship, to meet new folks into your industry. We've got chapters now in all regions or all provinces across the country, and I'm working on the north as well. And so regionally, a lot of them meet and they know each other. They've seen each other recently, but there's still a lot even in the same province who haven't met. But also, once we have those chapters connected, we can connect people in Nova Scotia with folks in Yukon and vice versa, and beyond. And I think that's one thing we lost in COVID. It was really easy to get on a Zoom chat with somebody you knew, but how do you bring new inspiration into that circle? So a lot of it's been around, connecting cohorts, connecting mentorship relationships in other regions. And I think that a need for mentorship and for connection is something that's really been in like all areas of the industry, but specifically in women and gender diverse folks. You're facing a lot of similar feelings, a lot of similar situations that you're coming into, or areas of the industry that are more discrepant, like the live sector, where it's not as necessarily as easy to find people who feel like they connect with you in your own immediate circle. So I think connecting folks has been a big part of it, building community. In the north, obviously, there's, no matter what your gender, there's more remote concerns. And so that building of community and connection is even greater. I think, because we work at, whether you're an artist or industry, we work in an area that isn't necessarily a 9-to-5 job in an office with an HR department. And a lot of people, especially over the last few years, have decided to go out on their own and form their own businesses and be entrepreneurs. So training around that entrepreneurial skill is definitely a big request. A lot of women, female entrepreneurs I've spoken to have said, look, I'm tired of working for a big company where I don't feel respected or safe in the space. So I want to do it myself. I want to own my creation. I want to own what I'm doing forward. But there's a lot of things you lose in doing that we want to help support, like that, financial knowledge, that, entrepreneurial spirit, like I'm saying, the connection with other industry folks. So I think it's relatively similar across the country. But, if you are in Toronto, it's probably a bit easier to connect with folks that are down the street. But at the same time, I mean, we're all trying to push forward in an industry that isn't 9-to-5, that doesn't have a playbook, right? So
Yeah.
it's, there are a lot of similarities as well.
Yeah. you've touched on two things that I want to talk about. I want to come back to the supporting of the live music scene and the live music. Um, but I was hoping you could talk about, and I'm not sure because I know you joined back in August, but talk about the entrepreneurship. I mean, talk about that entrepreneur, the incubator, I think it is that
Yeah.
you have within the group. I think that's so important. When I was reading about that, I thought it was fantastic. Because can you share some about that?
Yeah, for sure. So this is one program that I did take over when I started. It was running really great. We're doing the third edition right now. The dates are pushed a little bit back because of my transition, but it's running right now. They're just finishing it up this week, actually. And so this year we accepted 20 participants. Usually it's 10, but bumping that forward because we had 150 applications this year, roughly. Over like 50 some in the past. So almost 3 times the applications. It's definitely like skyrocketing the number of not just artists or not just industry, but also artists who are wanting to really look at their career as an entrepreneurial avenue and really like hone in those skills around that. So we did bump it to double the audience. The feedback I've heard going through the program so far, everyone's getting a lot out of it. And a lot of the folks who applied last year and were successful are like, let me know when the applications are open again. So, I mean, this is a big part. We've got so many folks who want to build their sustainable business, who want to get that off the ground and who are doing really incredible, unique projects. This year, and again, in going through applications, I get so inspired by the things I don't even know that are going on that are just like, I'm seeing a need in my community, whether it's like the trans community or a certain community of live sector or etc. They're like, there is a need. I'm going to come fill that need. We're going to help them get those skills, that financial awareness, the business developing your business plan, marketing, building your brand, etc. that are core to setting up that framework. And so we're going to offer that again in 2023 in the fall and continue on, and we'll keep it at the higher, the 20 participants, and we've got a few other changes coming down the way. And then we added this year also mentorship right alongside that. So as they're going through this training, they also have access to a mentor that can help them with the areas that they've identified are of most interest to them. So they've been set up directly with a mentor to fit what they're looking for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I mean, as we, again, during COVID, everything's changed. And as we're talking to particularly young and up and coming artists, they're having to take everything on. And so I think that's a fantastic thing, the fantastic program that you put in place. So, going to the live music thing, I'd love to know more about how you're supporting musicians and your roster in terms of from a live music perspective, because we know it's changed. Some people said it hasn't, everybody thinks it's come back, and some people are saying, no, it really hasn't come back. It's still a bigger challenge than ever. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. Well, and it's we have a lot more work to do in terms of what we as WIM Canada are doing for live artist side. Just simply because I've been here since August, so we've got certain programs coming, but there's definitely more work to do on the artist side. That said, we're building out international showcase programs. So last week I was in Sweden. We had 5 artists over there showcasing at an event in Stockholm and just outside of Stockholm at the consulate office. So we'll be continuing that to 3 or 4 more markets in the next fiscal year. And we're showcasing 6 artists alongside our honors program next week. So just trying to spice it in where we can. And then beyond that, I'm working with the chapters to talk to their membership about what are the artists looking for and how can we be part of that. I have an artist who works on a contract side with me called Tasha the Amazon, just incredible artist out of Toronto. And I feel like for me, her knowledge and insight on the artist side is really going to help us build those artist programs. But this next year is really going to show a lot more of what we can do with artist side, including we're hoping to increase this entrepreneur program again, and put some pieces specific to artists in there, as well as some more showcasing and some more programs, along with a few partners that have indicated they want to do more with artists. And so it's I keep saying I'm limited only by my own personal capacity, but
Yeah.
adding some more to the team and artists specifically will help us really connect people and get more programs within the songwriting scope and the live performance.
Fantastic.
Greg, we had Story on a few episodes ago. Fantastic voice. Wonderful human being. You know her, Robyn. I think I saw her name as one of the artists that was.
Yeah, she's on our honorary long list.
Yeah.
For next week. And she's going to be doing an international program with us later in the spring as well, that will be announced shortly. Yeah.
Oh, can you tell us what this international program is about?
No. It's not announced yet. I need to wait for the partner to announce it first, but she'll be coming on one of our international trade missions with us.
All right. Well, that sounds wonderful. But we went on a rant about the music industry. And if I recall, one of the things that she was talking about is finding it. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. Finding an appropriate label, or getting the attention of a label, because she literally does everything. She'll make her own. I
was thinking of earlier when I brought it up. So yeah,
make her own videos, produce her own album, like literally from soup to nuts, everything and anything. And she says, I just need maybe she didn't say label, but I'm thinking she did. I just need a label to support, because I don't mind doing everything, but it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of work.
We heard it last week from Sky Wallace talking about signing a 6-shooter and how that allowed her to stop focusing on so many things that.
Yeah. I'm curious, whether you hear specific things like this from artists, and I know you've got the mentorship program, you've got the the international programs that you'll take artists on, but how do you sort of tackle some of these very specific things?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of, I can't say as we're tackling it yet. It's definitely something we want to work towards, but there's only so much. I mean, we can take on, but also we work with the industry associations across the country, the major events across the country. I mean, they're all focused on putting artists in front of potential team members, right? So, from my perspective right now, in terms of capacity, it's like, how do we prepare artists to be in the right space when they engage with those larger programs, to have the right, be prepared for them. So whether they're, for our international piece, which I can speak to because we're running it right now, is when we have when we're taking artists into a new market, identifying with them, what are they looking for? Are they looking for a label in that market? Are they looking for an agent in that market? Which are probably two of the top ones that artists are looking for when they go in, that and like direct festival buyers and venue buyers. But they're looking for someone to bring their music to that audience, to create that audience for when they get there. And without that, you're absolutely right. Like Sky said, they're pounding the pavement themselves, and they can't focus as much on the artistry.
Yeah.
And some artists still, might have the interest from a manager, from an agent, from a label, and want to do it themselves. But more so than not, they want someone in their corner. And so it's really, it's unfortunate that a lot of, you have to get to a certain place where you have the interest of that agent, label, etc. And what's been really hard coming out of, I think we're getting back to that in a way post-COVID, but what was really hard during that time is that all those companies were doing whatever they could to try and sustain the roster they already had. And so there wasn't a lot of new signing. There wasn't a lot of new talent integration, because they didn't have the capacity, and they weren't going to take someone on if they physically couldn't book anything for them. Right. So I think we're getting to that place now where there's more growth. I mean, I look at, my friends at Feldman agency, and they've brought on so many new staff recently because they're getting back there, and they're now like, quite busy. And so this is the time. But yes, definitely. I mean, we strategically put on 6 acts on this show next week who are, have some of their team in place, but they're ready to do greater work, but they also have wants, have more to build. And so we have this beautiful audience of, 250 industry in the room. We're going to put them on the stage in front of them and work to see what happens of that. So, I mean, this is our starting place. It's certainly not our end. Our chapters are looking towards showcases as well, and working with them across the country to try and get more and more of this. But that's really it. And, and similar to when I go into an international event, like I said, last week, Sweden, we had, before anyone played the festival, we had a day at the Canadian consulate where we connected artists with industry in the market for one-on-one meetings, so they could chat with each other, see if there was a good fit, get them out to their show. And so it's, building from what I was doing prior with Breakout West Festival and with the Western Canadian Music Alliance. The goal is always to connect those artists with the industry they're looking for, because without a team, there's only so far. Right now, I'm not going to crap on like self-management, because some artists do it very, very well. But they don't always want to. I was up in Yellowknife back in September, for example. I met with a number of women in music up there. And there were a few of them saying, I really want more skills in financial management, for example. And then there were just as many saying, I know I need that, but I personally don't want it. I want someone else to do it for me. And I want the capacity to hire that person. And I'm like, fair. So how do we train someone in your community to do that, so that you're not having to source it out beyond your circle? So it's a big hill we're climbing, but we're certainly getting there.
Wow.
That's great. So at the risk of exposing myself as a lazy researcher, no, I reached out to a good friend.
We found that out 3 years ago, Greg.
Oh, that's fine. I reached out to a good friend, Lori Januska, who's director of programming over at Women in Film and Television. And I said, we were, getting together with you today to have a conversation. I said, what questions should I ask? Send me a whole list of questions.
No.
With the time, but with the time that we have, I think 2 of the questions is a great way as we sort of come to the end of our discussion, of our chat. She wanted to know, what's your biggest challenge right now, and what's been your most pleasant surprise as you've taken over?
Okay. Biggest challenge is easy. It's time and funding. This is the first time this organization's been funded to have a full-time executive director. And so we've been tasked with get up to speed with the national head chapter in New York. And I have list upon list of suggestions, requests from artists and industry who need support for different things, who have program ideas that are just brilliant. But there's only so much time that I personally have. So my challenge is time and funding to get those programs off the ground and to get more support where we can to make those things happen. And sorry, the other was what I'm most pleasantly surprised about.
Yeah, you're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love every meeting I have and every conversation I have. I'm pleasantly surprised by the optimism of this of moving things forward with this organization and everyone's excitement around the potential. I have, just as many people offering what we need as offering help. Again, it comes back to the time thing, but I'm really excited around the interest, and I'm also really excited around the number of partners on the corporate side who are really keen to support equity and to support what we're doing and to see what they can do more. And that's evident with, the incredible partners we have on the event next week, as well as others we're moving forward with as well right now, for other pieces coming down the road. So, to reach out and have a sponsorship conversation with a brand new partner who's never been part of our organization, and partway through the meeting, they're like, what can we do? What do you need? I love that they're all paying attention to the fact that this is going to make that focusing on equity, diversity, and inclusion is really going to make such a great change from every level of the industry and every person in it. So that to me is, I don't know if I would say pleasant surprise, but definitely positive, and exciting.
Fantastic.
Well, Robyn, we wish you and your organization nothing but the best.
Thank you.
And if consider us friends of the organization. If there are artists that come to you or come to your organization saying, I want to get on a podcast. I need to prep myself before I get my big shot with George Stroumboulopoulos or on Tom with Tom Power on Q
with a couple of hacks.
Yeah, send them to us. We'll give them training on this podcast. But all the best to you, Robyn.
Thank you very much.